Good evening. It's 6 o'clock. It's the Red Sea Rules. Robert J. Morgan. 10 God-given strategies for difficult times. Rule number 1. Realize that God means for you to be where you are. Rule number 2. Be more concerned for God's glory than your relief. Rule number 3. Acknowledge your enemy, but keep your eyes on the Lord. Rule 4. Pray. Rule 5, stay calm and confident and give God time to work. We finally reach rule number 6. When unsure, just take the next logical step by faith. Hey y'all, it's the Red Sea Rules, Robert J. Morgan, 10 God-given strategies for difficult times. Spiritual multiplication, spiritual formation, intimate fellowship, deep transformation. These are the things that ought to be happening with the Red Sea Rules. Robert J. Morgan. Study questions. And you can find these study questions at the end of chapter 5 and 6. Has your personal Red Sea produced a panic-prone reaction from you? Of course it has. Let's take the disciples, for instance. They were on the sea. Jesus has slept on them, or he's sleeping on them. A storm arises and they begin to panic. Master, carest thou not that we perish? We've all had our moments where we've been panic prone. What do you think it means to stand firm? And how can you improve your ability to do that in your current situation? All of us can. How can you? Leave comments, talk with your neighbor, talk in your cell groups. How can you improve your ability to stay calm in your current situation? Rule 6 tells us to move on by taking the next logical step. Do you see contradiction? Why or why not? Is there contradiction with me standing firm and moving on? Making a step, but standing firm. Is there a contradiction? Let's talk about that. Can you think of the next logical step you should take in a situation you're facing? If so, jot it down along with a schedule for implementing it. Rule number 6. When unsure, take the next logical step by faith. It's Robert J. Morgan, y'all. 10 God-given strategies for difficult times. Hey, if you're new to this page, hit subscribe, leave a comment, and email me, find me, locate me on all of my social media handles. Hey, Cornelius A. Hill, Facebook, Arne Hill, Instagram, Hill Cornelius, Twitter, and of course, Cornelius Hill, YouTube. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe. Let's get into this. When unsure, take the next logical step by faith. Let's talk about moving on and standing firm. When I think about moving on, we have to, number 1, learn how to manage our emotions. Would you agree, disagree? When we move on, we manage our emotions, because when we think about logic and our emotions get involved, it's very hard to move when we're too emotional. I tell you, I give you the biblical example. Mary and Martha, 2 sisters. One stood still and listened to Jesus. One kept moving because of her emotional state. And she said, tell my sister to help me. But Jesus said she's chosen the best part. You have to learn to manage your emotions when you're facing your Red Sea. Number 2, you have to obliterate your fears. Your fears have to go. You have to wave bye-bye to the things that you are afraid of. Remember, fear has torment. Remember, number 3, you are a vessel of grace. God has graced you to take the next logical step. And then rule 4, enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. When I think of moving on, when I think of taking the next logical step by faith, I must learn how to move. Then Moses said, why do you cry to me? Tell the children of Israel. He said to the Lord, why do you cry to me? Tell the children of Israel in Exodus 14:15 just to move forward. Listen, I found that if we go as far as we can, God often opens up the rest of the way. And that's a quote from the text on page 66. If we go as far as we can, God will open up the rest of the way. Isobel Kuhn. Have you been in a situation where you have gone as far as you could, but then God opened up the rest of the way? We've all been there. God makes a way out of no way. He opens up the rest of the way. That's what it means by taking the next logical step by faith. Let me put the book down. Let me deal with some things in my life, in your life. When we go as far as we can, God often opens up the rest of the way. There's a story told of a great preacher in this particular text who said, God did not part the Red Sea all at one time. He said the miracle was in them taking the step. Every time they took a step, it was on dry land. So they kept walking logically, and they kept staying on dry land. And the more they walked, the more the walls parted. Let me say that again. The more they walked, the more the walls parted. Can I say that again? The more they walked, the more the walls parted of the Red Sea. They kept taking that logical step by faith. They did it. And they kept seeing themselves trod on dry ground. Sometimes in life, we have to just keep going. Even when it doesn't seem right, even when it doesn't look right. But I've learned this. God knows how to keep our footing when we're in a state of fret. Yes, put that in the comments. God knows how to keep our footing when we're in a state of fret. And here it is on page 66. Isobel Kuhn talks about this particular incident where you have to go as far as you can, but God will open up the rest of the way. Oh, I wish we was in church. I wish we were in church, people, because I know if we were in church, we would have many testimonials of when you took that logical step by faith. Which leads us to a song. The song is on page 66. Put it in your own words. Hey, lead kindly light, amid thou encircling gloom. Lead thou me on. The night is dark and I am far from home. Lead thou me on. Keep thou my foot. I do not ask to see the distant scene. One step enough for me. Lead me on. Yes. Put that in your own words now. If this was your song and you had to contemporize it, what would it say? What would you say about the kindly light? What would you say about the encircling gloom? What would you say about how God is leading you? For some of us, say, Pastor, that's a bit of a stretch. I get it. But let me say this. Write the words, precious Lord. Take my hand. Lead me on. How about that song? That helps us understand the context of taking that next logical step by faith. Rule number 6, when unsure, just take the next logical step by faith. And remember, we have to go as far as we can, and God opens up the rest of the way for us. What keeps the heart in abiding dependence upon God? What keeps the heart in the abiding dependence upon God? What keeps the heart in the abiding dependence upon God? Remember, your heart has to depend on God. You have to be in a moment, in a situation where you totally depend on God. If you trust him with your whole heart for your salvation, why come you can't trust him with your whole heart with your situation? So what keeps the heart in the abiding dependence upon God? I tell you what keeps the heart. The next step. That's what keeps the heart. When you make that next step, that's what keeps the heart in that dependence upon God. You would not have what you need had not God given you a spirit to depend on him. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. That is dependence upon God. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Lean not unto thy own understanding. That is dependence upon God. That's what the word keeps the heart in total dependence upon God. Look at these scripture, the word. Look at it. Rule number 6, take the next logical step by faith. God led them with a pillar of cloud by day and a fire by night that kept their heart in total dependence on God. Day by day, the Lord also pours out his steadfast love upon me. Psalms 42:8. That keeps my heart in total dependence upon God. Your strength shall be renewed day by day, like morning dew. Psalms 110:3. That keeps my heart in total dependence upon God. And Luke and Matthew, the model prayer, give us this day our daily bread. That keeps our heart in total dependence upon God. As we get ready to close, when you feed your worry, you feed your enemy. When you feed your worry, you feed your enemy. And it's very difficult to take the next logical step by faith when you feeding your worry. A heart full of worry is not a heart full of worship. It's the Red Sea Rules, Robert J. Morgan, 10 God-given strategies for difficult times. And this is learning from the loft. Peace and blessings.